right. Welcome back. This is Our Generation with the Times, Melissa Shaw, and we are back for the second time. And I will tell you, the first one we was talking the whole time and did not capture the sound. So this is what happens when I try to keep it organic because it's really going to be organic. But I'm glad to have you guys back because I really enjoyed talking with you. So this just kind of gives us another chance to maybe expound on some things. So just if you could tell the listeners again your name and the business and just kind of your guys' background.
Sure.
So, good morning. Glad to be back.
Yes.
Second time is going to be even better. My name is LeeTosha Henry. I am the co owner, along with my lovely husband, of a company called Pi Unlimited, where we teach soft skills to youth in order to prepare them for the workforce.
Thank you. And I'm Zachary Henry, and together we are looking to prevent, intervene, and enrich. And that's what the PI stands for PI Unlimited: prevention, intervention, and enrichment, to help, like she said, students be prepared for the workforce. And we believe that that encompasses a number of skills, whether it's life skills or soft skills or executive function skills.
So what made you guys want to dive into it? Like, what's your background?
Oh, that's a good question. So back in 2008, my wife and I, we grew up in Chicago. We're both from Chicago. And at our local assembly, we put on a college event. And it was an event designed to prepare everybody kind of for what's up ahead. And that was the first kind of inkling that we had this idea that we should be doing this. And, we put it to the side. But basically, that seminar was a way for students to understand about college, about their options in the career if they chose to go to the military, like I did, whether they pursue their doctoral degree, like my wife did. And we just want to set them up for success in a number of different areas. And since that time period, we have volunteered and worked in prisons and um, detention facilities, as well as worked with students in other capacities. I worked with homeless students. My wife was a teacher in education for about 20 years. And so we just never lost that drive and lost that desire. And we just finally decided this past year, after thinking about it through multiple, business ideas, to finally do something and do it together. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I have nothing to add. You answered very well.
So is this the first time you guys have ever owned your own business?
Together, yes. Yes.
And how's it been?
Yes.
Skills.
Yes.
Soft skills.
So you have to literally use your soft skills in order to teach the soft skills.
And that's a critical element. We want to be practitioners and not just speaking about it. We got to be able to do it as well as say it. And so that's one critical aspect we're learning. I'm more of a director, she's a negotiator, and sometimes we see the world very differently. She wants to get things done faster than I do. I want to do the analysis and do the study more than she does, and so it plays to what we're endeavoring to do. She has some value added, I have some value added, things like that. So
Yeah, and I would add Zach, he was the one. I'm a very independent person. So we did have a business. I had a business prior to this, and I was, you know, had a vision. I was going to support women and things of that nature. But Zach was like, we need to work together. And I was like resisting it. I'm like,
I can
we
imagine.
have different styles,
Yeah.
right? And I kind of fought it for a while, but after having Annabelle, I was like, okay, I want to, start my own business. And we both had, it's amazing. We both have an entrepreneurial mindset, right?
Mhm.
And so the idea of doing education consulting has always been an idea, but not necessarily something that we both like work toward. And we're actually in a place after a really long time of just kind of doing our own thing coming together, and it's grown and it's moving fast when we work together, right? And so I'm grateful for this opportunity to work alongside my husband. And we can't teach what we aren't practicing at home, right?
Absolutely.
And soft skills is something that is not just for the professional world, but it's also in our personal lives. And
Mhm.
so we have to use it every day,
Yeah.
right? And we get
Every
and
all
we
day.
yes,
How
exactly.
important was it for you guys to create this business specifically targeting soft skills? Like, what need did you see that was like screaming out there?
I think, as he said, we both always had a passion for youth. And for me, being a teacher, it was great to teach hard skills, but I enjoyed teaching the soft skills and how we plan for the future. And so, as we thought about prevention, intervention, and enrichment. We had the name for a while, and we were kind of going in a different direction with just supporting leaders. And then it came, we really want to support young people. Like we want to be a voice for young people that grew up in similar situations, right? I'm from the west side of Chicago. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment, myself
Mm.
and my brother with our parents, and they worked really hard, right? And so we want to give hope, right, through our faith as well as showing through education that you can turn your life around. And it starts with soft skills, right? It starts with how you interact with other people. It starts with, your confidence and how you feel about yourself. And so I think that it just made sense to go in this direction if we want to make a greater impact on the lives of youth.
I'll just add that my experience was it began when I got out of the military in 2007, the first time. And when I got out, I was able to go through this program where they worked with the veterans. They did personality tests, and they really wanted us to understand ourselves before we went into the workforce. And so, as I kind of thought about that, I ended up not taking their advice and going back to Chicago. But we reconnected and we got married a few years later. But the value of that experience was that okay, there's something to this, and it's really valuable for me. Oh wow, I know more of who I am.
Mm.
And you think about all of the time that we spend in this life switching jobs, searching for happiness,
Mhm.
thinking that something will fulfill us when in the end it doesn't.
Mhm.
What if we could shortcut the time that it takes between when we pursue a thing and when we find out that's not for me? What if we
Mhm.
could eliminate all of that wasted time? What if
Yeah.
we could then say, I am going to pursue the right passion or the right interest or the right skill set. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to do it in the best way possible.
Mhm.
If you look at the statistics about work and people entering the workforce, they are ill prepared for the realities of everything from issues related to their character to
Yeah.
connecting with people or to contributing to the work that they're doing or
Yeah.
to society.
Absolutely.
And when you see that, you notice, wait a minute, we are all lacking in these soft skills.
Mhm.
Soft skills is the thing that makes your rise up the ladder easy.
Mhm.
It's the thing that makes your relationship with other people fulfilling. If you don't have soft skills, you don't have anything.
Yeah. Can you tell the listeners what are soft skills? Because some may not know what that is.
Great question. So, if you think of skills and divide them into two categories, the first category that most people think about is okay, I know how to put a hammer on a nail and build a house.
Mhm.
The soft skills is the other side of that same coin, if you will, which is I know how to work with the individual in a way that makes the experience for him pleasing. So if I'm building you a house and we have poor communication, I don't reach out to you, I don't speak very well or kindly to you, are you going to be excited about building that house?
Absolutely not.
The meaning, the value, the enjoyment that comes from how well I connect with you.
Mhm.
So think of it like a doctor. You're going to get treated for something simple like Dr. Pimple Popper, right? I got this big pimple on my back. You're the doctor, right? If you have no bedside manner, you have no soft skills. You're
Mhm.
poor at communicating. You're poor at working with me to solve my issue in the way that's best for our mutual benefit.
Mhm.
And that's what soft skills are.
Yeah. I
how you connect with others.
yeah. You ever watch the House?
Yes,
Yeah, he was.
excellent example of
He
no
had
soft
no
skills.
soft skills at
Right.
all.
But
He was good at what he does,
exactly.
but
And
yeah.
and that's what a lot of people believe, that if I'm just good at my job, then that's everything else will be fine.
Mhm.
But we're seeing more and more now, it's not just how good you are at your job.
Mhm.
You can have a friend or a parent, and you can notice, man, it's just they rub me the wrong way. And you distance yourself from them. How much more in the workforce when you got a boss who gets on your nerve? Why do they get on your nerve? They might be great at their job, but they're bad at those interpersonal skills. They're
Mhm.
bad at emotional intelligence. And
Yeah.
the biggest reason why most people leave their job is not related to their hard skills. It's related to their boss and the
Absolutely.
problems with soft skills,
Yeah.
you know? So,
And
I,
imagine taking this now and using it with youth at an earlier age, right?
Mhm.
And not waiting until, hey, I have my first job and I learn this. And so that's part of what we want to do, right? Sixth grade through 12th grade. Let's teach them soft skills now. Let's put them in spaces where they can learn teamwork. Let's put them in spaces where they can learn work ethic and
Mhm.
leadership so that they are better equipped when they do get their first job or when they are in relationships, right? I can't call to mind the name of the book, but when students get jobs and they can't get along with their manager, right? Or they're bringing all these excuses, to the manager and then not able to keep a job. It diminishes in the long run their quality of life, right? And so we just want to start early with teaching these soft skills to youth.
do you feel that it has to be like taught and retaught because of as they're growing?
that a great question. What that calls to mind is the individual child's developmental stage.
Mhm.
And what you'll notice is that in some cases, a person may be ready or well suited for a skill set or the development of a skill set, but what they still need is practice. So
Mhm.
soft skills should be taught, retaught, enforced, reinforced, because practice makes better. And
Right.
the more you practice at it, the better you are and the better you end up becoming, and the easier it is for you to relate to others in a specific situation.
Mhm.
And so the diversity of situations that you're going to face requires a diverse approach and a comprehensive, um, you know, practice session, if you will.
Mhm.
And I like what you said. We grow, right?
Mhm.
I'm not the same person that I was when I married Zach, right? Our maturity level, it grows, right? And so it'll grow with the students, right? Each experience, if they're willing and open to learning, will just make them that much better, right? Will make their relationships that much better. As Zach said, will make that trajectory up the ladder where in whatever field that much easier, right? Because
Right.
you're growing, you're learning, you're getting better at
Yeah.
this. So.
And I was thinking as you was talking, so as you're growing, do you feel like you hit a point where they think that there's no more growth? Because sometimes people out there feel like, well, I know everything, I've learned everything. So have you guys come into that, or do you have things put in place to where you can kind of mentor people even beyond the programs that you have?
Good question. I would say that there's never a time where you have mastered soft skills. It's impossible.
Mhm.
The reason being, every challenge, every situation you face is different,
Mhm.
and the stressors that you are under at that moment are always different. So imagine it's like playing at your highest level of skill all the time. That's
Mhm.
what it's like to be dealing with soft skills. And so you may be good at communicating with someone one day, but then another day, because you're under a different load of stress, you get upset at the lady at the airport,
Yeah.
or you get frustrated with the person at the counter who's trying to, sell coffee. It's all a matter of how you manage in that moment.
Mhm.
And so soft skills must be practiced constantly, because if I say I'm an expert and then the next moment I'm tested on something and I fail miserably, or I get upset at my children and handle it poorly, I've just now impacted them in a negative way due to my soft skills. And that is an area of development and opportunity for me, for sure, because they're
I mean, they are. It is, but it creates kids kind of they show where there's holes in you.
Say
so I
that
have a lot of hope. Again. What you're
again.
saying.
Like Swiss cheese.
Because there's some like my
Seriously.
daughter's 19, and I would say within the past 4 or 5 years, like our relationship has been all over the place.
Sure.
And there was times when like she would be communicating and she would do something and I would react. And it was this one specific time and I was like, oh my God, like you just triggered me. Like what you did had nothing to do with my response. It was how it made me feel. And so and I had to tell her, I was like, I apologize. Like, my bad. Like, I realized that that was a trigger. You made me think back of when I was a child and how something maybe made me feel, and I reacted that way.
Definitely.
And that's the point that I was going to add to what Zach said is we never hit a point where we can't learn soft skills anymore, right? Especially if you're in a place of constant reflection, right? And constant like I want to do better, right? And parenting, it definitely it brings it out for me as well, right? Our children will definitely make us better people if we allow them, and we're always like reflecting like, oh, why did I respond to my daughter that way? And so that for me, I'm the same way. Why did I respond to my son? And so I'm striving constantly to now do better, to communicate better, which is a soft skill, right? To model better, like all of this. If you know, if you get to a point where you're like, oh, I've mastered this, then you're no longer growing,
Yeah.
right? And so I want to be a person that's always growing, and I think that when I talk to youth, I want them to always be at a point where they're able to reflect, right? And it takes some it takes a lot of growth because when we start talking about the trauma, like, oh, this triggered me, it's like that's when we want to run and say, oh, I got this already. I don't need to deal with soft skills anymore.
Absolutely.
Instead of embrace it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard, right? This is hard work and it's continuous.
And I tend to go the other way. But my daughter is like, no, we're gonna stay here. Like she is that one that she's and she's taught me a lot and she's showed things about myself that we don't like. You're like, okay, yeah, I didn't realize I had, or I knew I had it, but now you see it, and so now I have to address it because I want you to be better than me. And teaching that, yeah. So.
And there's also the other thought is that there's resistance. So you are avoiding conflict with your child because of something that they triggered, but then there's people who are avoiding, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't want to deal with the conflict, but also I don't want to deal with the fact that I am avoiding the conflict.
Right.
And so that's another realistic element that applies to all of us. Sometimes I don't want to deal with what's going on, and so I might hide or I might escape from the conflict that's going on in the moment, and that could be a trigger for her, or it could be a trigger for the children, or worse, it could be a rehashing of the problem that I had when it first happened. Right. So not only is it a trigger, but now I'm reliving it.
Yeah.
Not only do I see it, but now it's so much more vivid and real, and it's painful. So.
And they say that your frontal lobe, and I always would say this to my daughter, your frontal lobe was not developed, so that's why you did that dumb stuff. She said, I hated when I would say that, but now it's a joke, but it is true. So with that, like, and that speaks to what I said earlier. So with the soft skills, because they haven't fully developed, I would think that it would need to be readdressed.
Well, yes, but keep in mind, a child still has the capacity to learn.
Yes.
Right? They may not be developmentally at a place that appears as equal as yours, but they still can learn. I mean, They learn things faster and easier. So, what better time to teach them soft skills when they're young, when they're in a high state of change anyway,
Yeah.
so that by the time they get older, they aren't set in their ways. I mean, it's like creating a new pathway in the brain.
Yeah.
You know, you practice something, you repeat it over and over again, and before you know it, you're an expert in a specific area. But if you practice the wrong way, or if you don't practice at all, you have given your brain a chance to practice the wrong thing. And that becomes what you see in the workforce. That becomes what you see on the news. That becomes what you see with people acting out, enraged. I mean, you're seeing it on airplanes, you're seeing it in coffee shops, you're seeing it on TikTok, you're seeing it on Instagram, throwing things, immediately reacting and not taking any moment to consider what's that other person's perspective.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Like I had posted today, don't think you know somebody's story based on where they're at, like their wins, because you don't know what season they just came out of.
sure.
So even when it comes to soft skills, like we need to really understand, like when we come in contact with people, we have no idea what they either dealt with prior to having that conversation with us.
Right.
And I feel like if people, like you said, just were to take that moment to say, but that's also back to what your wife said, that self-reflection, that self-awareness.
Sure.
And I feel like now we are in a place in human society where people are more aware of needing to have that than ever before, because I don't ever remember hearing that growing up. And I think we're all around the same age. Like, you know, you wasn't taught that. You was a child. You stay in a child's space and, you know, you don't. And I love that those of us in our generation, because I'm coming across more, like we really want to help the next generation. We don't want them to be like how we were.
Sure.
We want to equip them with skills to be able to, like, because they're going to be watching us.
They already are.
But not just that, but they're going to take care of us. And
yes. Oh, watching us, yes.
I want to be taken care of better, you know. I don't want to, because I struggle with my relationship with my mother.
Sure.
And so I take care of her out of, I have to. It's not out of I want to. But me and my daughter have a completely different relationship where me and her are extremely close. And sometimes we're closer. It's almost uncomfortable for me because I don't have that with my mom. And so, like I was saying earlier, like she's taught me a lot. Like, you know, she's going to take care of me. She wants to take care of me. I'm doing it out of like a need because of my dad not being here. But, you know, being able to change that for the younger generation is huge.
Yes. Well, and I would just add to that when you consider the long-term effects of a broken relationship on a family's history. So imagine in the 1800s, there was an issue. And it was between the mom and the daughter, the dad and the daughter, the dad and the son. The relationship that they had is carried forth in habits, in practice, in mindset, in observation and reflection and conclusion, maybe with or without the input from the person who initiated the interaction. And by the time you get all the way here, you have generations, multiple generations of habits that now have to be broken and relearned. And this is all related to soft skills.
Yeah.
My dad said a child should be seen and not heard. This is just an example.
No, right? Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
The child then is reared, and then they have children who are outspoken, boisterous, playful.
That's exactly me. My daughter like has a voice. And
exactly. And they don't know
I'm
how
like,
to respond.
I should have chose violence because you really tested me right now. Because if it was me, I'd be laid out on the floor.
Exactly. And so now you are now dealing with, well, who's right?
Yeah.
You work against yourself if you say, well, my parents were right. And now you're trying to force that on your child, but you're seeing a different response. They don't respond the way I did.
Yeah.
Then there's a cultural norm that accepts or rejects. Then there's the idea that you're going to miss out if you don't train your child the way the culture dictates.
Then it makes you feel like you're not a good parent. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's yeah.
We don't spank anymore. Oh, we put them in the corner. Oh, okay, go to the corner. But I'm not getting the results that my mom got.
Right.
And it's no longer acceptable for me to do what my mom did.
Yeah.
Well, that child is now throwing things at me, cursing at me, and they're 2.5 years old. I didn't know you knew those words.
Right, exactly. Now I'm about to put you in a headlock.
Then you have technology at so all of these factors
Yeah.
you understand.
No,
But
absolutely. So, how did you guys create your programs? And explain a little bit about the program because we talked about the need, and we all agree like there's a huge
sure,
need, and it's the sooner that you can present these skills to young people. So, what does that program look like that you guys created?
sure. So the existing knowledge base for soft skills is out there. It's been out there for a long time. They've been called 21st century skills. They've been called, emotional intelligence. They've under different forms. In fact, there's even programs already existing. So what we're doing is not new. I think the thing that we're endeavoring to do is bring the professional development aspect to the audience earlier.
Mm.
Most of the time, you have this happening when you enter into the workforce. We're going to give you the orientation, onboarding. Here's what you should not do. You should
Mhm.
not, harass anyone. You should. Well, those are skills that you should learn way in advance,
Mhm.
right? So what we have done is we have crafted from the existing material our own set of soft skills, and we've pulled from them and we've made them all right. If you can just understand these core skills, you're going to be successful in life. And we're using that to develop a more robust curriculum, and we want to target, that age group from sixth grade to 12th grade, but also those people who've just graduated. And so we have a program that we're writing out now as well to address those folks who are getting ready to enter into the workforce or college, but are uncertain of what they're doing.
Mhm.
They have some anxiety, some concerns about, I'm not ready.
Mhm.
Maybe their parents have that same concern. Their children are stuck or they're unmotivated. They don't know where to go.
Mhm.
We're creating a program for that as well. Does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
absolutely. And I think of my daughter, like, I got married when I was 19, and she's
Mm-hmm.
19 now, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, what was I thinking? Why did my parents even allow that?
Sure.
Because obviously, me and her dad aren't together anymore, but, just the thought of they're so young, and I feel like COVID did a lot.
Yes.
It kept them from developing a lot of skills and social skills. And so even now is even more of a reason why what you guys are doing is so important because of that. It's almost like stunted people's growth, even as adults. Like
Yes.
nobody wants to go anywhere anymore. Like, I'm
Yeah.
good. Can we Zoom? Just
Yeah.
they don't want that personal interaction. Because
And you're seeing the impact of COVID on students
yes,
in
it's
a
still
number
on.
of different ways. So, what you're seeing, there's some articles that came out that talked about how the younger Generation Alpha, I think it's called, born from 2010 to 2024, they're saying that those children who have been in our oldest son was in kindergarten when COVID happened. So his stage looks different than his brother's, who's only 2 years younger.
Mm.
And their development will be forever potentially impacted. If you remember during the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, the people who lost their job, or the people who were entering into the workforce at that time, they all suffered a, you know, uh, cohort level of setbacks.
Mm.
And so soft skills are critical to helping them grow and develop out of it. For instance, um, I have anxiety around my job because I got fired right when that happened.
Mm.
Or if you think to the 1920s and the early 1900s when there was the Great Depression, what did people care about? After that Great Depression, every generation following that, or the first generation following it rather, what did they care about? Saving and hoarding money.
Mhm.
And so each generation goes through a different thing, and they need to respond positively, we hope,
Right.
to the catalyst and do the right thing. But it's up to them and how they adapt to their situation using soft skills to determine. For instance, your daughter, she grew up in, a generation focused on social media, on,
Mhm.
technology. So
Mhm.
what will be the impact of that on her and
Right.
her trajectory? How will she view giving her child, a phone?
Mhm.
So
You don't have anything?
No. I mean, he answered
Yeah.
well. And I think I will say this that while we started off with the focus being on young people, that will remain. We as parents also want to connect with other parents, right? We're in the thick of it. We have three children that we are doing our very best to raise them and to utilize, our faith first and soft skills as a way for them to navigate through the world. And as I interact and hear different things and responses from parents as they prepare to send off their high school graduates out into the world, it's a soft spot for me in wanting to really provide something for parents to help their children. Right? It's a I can't I can only imagine. My oldest now, our oldest is 9, and in 8 years he'll be making similar decisions, right, about what happens next. And when a parent feels hopeless as to how do I help my child move on? How do I help my child make decisions, right? It's a scary place. This world's a scary place for me
Mm-hmm.
in my 40s. So to think about a young person leaving school and leaving the comfort, school can be a comforting place, right? You know what's going to happen. You know that your teachers care about you. You know that at home I have a place to, lay down at night. I have meals. And to think that this in a few years will be removed from me, that's scary, right? And it can put you in a place of like, I just don't make any decision. So reaching that parent who's
Mm-hmm.
in that space, right, of how do I help my child? I think that as we develop our business, we're just, even more honing in on what really matters, right? And it's the student and it's helping families. Like
Yeah.
if we can do that at the end of the day, that will bring joy to us.
Mm-hmm.
excellent.
I love that. So you guys go into schools, or how do you like? What does it look like?
Sure.
Or
So we started the
companies?
business a month ago in March.
A month ago.
Yes. So we're in the process of, like I said, I mentioned before, writing out our curriculum and creating materials that we can present. And our idea right now at this stage is creating a curriculum for online use, but also when it suits us, working with families and working with um, parents with their students as they get ready to graduate. So, want to add anything?
No, we eventually hope to go into schools. I think greatest impact right now is our youth that are graduating and our parents, right? So our focus is to get to the districts and to the schools. That is like if we had to say ultimate goal. But right now, what is the way that we can immediately reach families and have impact? So online opportunities when they present themselves to be in public and doing maybe family fun nights, like all those things are in the
In-person
works.
workshops.
And we discuss we want to come to Indianapolis. We're not shying away from that.
You're.
So
It's already. I mean,
so that is
it's
like
happening.
yes, exactly. So we're excited about the summer too and the opportunity to put together gatherings for youth and for their families. So whether
Right.
that is in Hamilton County, in Indianapolis, or wherever the need exists, if we can make it work, that's our desire.
Because I remember last time we talked, and it was good, y'all. So I hate that I was like, how can I extract this? Yeah. But the last time we talked was like, you know, we see a lot of violence, and they always talk about things to fix it other than what the actual problem is. And it's not as difficult as we make it. It's not taking the guns off the street. I mean, y'all really passed a law to have 18-year-olds, but clearly they have no soft skills, so you're not equipping them. You're setting them up to go out and like do it. And I feel like it's huge to be able to tap into that. And I feel like the way what you have, eventually you will definitely play a huge part in having a seat at the table of those conversations of, okay, what can we do to really dig more into the reason why the kids are, because they're all reactional. But that's what they're going to do if they're not taught anything different.
Right.
Absolutely. I'll just share a quick story. In a previous role, I supported low performing schools, and the government is great in providing money, right? We put a lot of money into low performing schools. And as I step back and we think about violence in neighborhoods, whether that's Chicago or wherever, right? It's real simple, right? We don't need to like hire a whole lot of people. We don't need to, community buildings. Those things are good, but it's something as simple as teaching students how to get along, how I communicate versus me taking matters into my own hand. How can I communicate with you? And our youth, they have so much potential. They have leadership skills. They have so many abilities. Why don't we tap into those? This is where this is my passion.
Absolutely.
Young men, I have two sons. I think they're the brightest, smartest. They have so much potential. And whether that is my sons or your sons, who's ever, let's tap into the skills that they have. Let's teach them so that they can be fathers and men and husbands and leaders in the community. We don't need a lot of money for that.
No,
We
you
need a
don't.
lot of people coming together
Yeah.
to pour into our youth, right? It's just that simple.
And
So
even taking that part of it and us pouring into them, but also listening to them. And what do you guys see? Because, like, and I think I mentioned that, like, I work with several young men that are powerful. Like, there's one guy, and I told him, I said, you could be the president because of just his stance and how he commands the room, and he's not afraid to speak, but he does lack some soft skills because he can be very aggressive, and so some people may not receive him.
sure.
I don't want to stop him, but again, that's how can you empower them to take what they already have and just take it to another level.
Refinement.
Absolutely. And he's very willing. Like, I had took him to an event last week. It was a plug event up in Indianapolis. And I'm always dropping their names everywhere I go. And one of the guys that was there, I was like, I told you about him. And as he was talking with him, he was like, have you ever thought about being a public speaker? Now, this young guy's 24. And he was like, no, I don't think I could do that. And I said, yes, you can. I've been telling you. Like, you have such an influence with your generation. You have no idea the impact that you can make. But being able to see
Right.
that in somebody, and like young men, and his grandmother was a Black Panther.
Wow. He's got
His
a history of it.
he had yes he his house was raided by the FBI. Like, his mother had like was addicted to drugs. He lost his mother. A girlfriend of his was killed. Like, he's dealt with so much, but he still wants to be different. He's trying to change the narrative. So what do we
Beautiful.
do for those? What, like you said, what skills are we offering them? We're trying to throw money at them, but that's not what they need. They need to be able to hone in on what they're already, or those of us in our generation, some of them, because I'm not going to include myself, they want to create programs and they want them to conform to it.
You know, it's a really powerful thing for a person to know themselves and to be willing to consistently work on their own character. But that creates a problem because if I know that I have a group of people who have strong and positive character, that means that my control over them is limited. And so I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but we have to make sure that we're training our children to understand the dynamics of the world they live in
Yes.
and how their ability to move ahead, despite them having good culture, will be challenged by
Absolutely.
other people's perspectives, other people's goals, which might be control or might be to ensure that they can't have the freedoms that they desire. And so you can see that being put into legislation. You might see
Absolutely.
that being put into policies for a store or for a job or for even a institution of higher learning. And so it's really important that our children be people of strong character so that they can be aware and they can adjust their strategy accordingly.
Absolutely. I love that. No, absolutely. And so of course you guys have to come and do a workshop because like yeah, it's needed everywhere.
We would love to do a workshop. This is something that's near and dear to our hearts. We recognize that if you want to change the next generation, you can't just change the people who are the parents. You got to also work on the children, and it's better to work on the children while you're also working on the parents. And so we're just doing the first element right now. Work on the children, give them the tools that they need to succeed, talk to them about goals, aspirations, dreams, and then show them through practice. Okay, if you want to achieve that goal, how are you going to reach that? How will your soft skills support your dream or take away from it?
And that's engaging them. That's not talking at them and says, you need to do this, you need to do that. Okay,
Right.
well, what do you see needs to happen in your generation or with your peers? What does that look like?
Definitely.
And when you get their buy-in, it's a wrap. Like they're going to go 100%. But if they're just
Indeed.
being, none of us want to be told what to do, you
Right.
know.
Include me.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Mhm.
We agree.
So where can they find you? Where can the people find you? And
Uh,
how can they support you?
So we are actually on social media. We're trying to figure that out. We're a little bit old, but
Don't do
um,
that. Speak
we're
for
on social
yourself.
media, and our program that we have for high school students who are graduating is called the Gap Year Adventure. And so you can find us on Instagram at what is it called?
At the Gap Year Adventure.
The Gap Year Adventure. Yes. And then we have a website. It's called pieunlimited.com, and that is where it's going to house all of our kind of programs for prevention, intervention, and enrichment.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm excited. And like I said, you guys are going to be on both platforms. So
Definitely.
I'm going to put you on my main page of my podcast because I know the people that follow me and that watch my shows, they're going to love this episode.
Yeah. I'm glad we got a chance to do this again. I
Yeah.
think the second time was definitely better,
Yeah.
and we appreciate you having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to us working. Any parting words? And also, working with young entrepreneurs. I even think that that is something that could be tapped into because you need those skills.
I'm glad you said that.
We're all about the young people.
Yeah.
Yes,
For sure.
yes, and I'm really glad this came up because when you look at across what's going on in the economy now, you find that the people who do best are known, liked, and trusted, right? And you say that you do business with people you know, like, and trust. And you can also see that when people pull back from popular folks in the media right now, they do so because they no longer like them, they no longer trust them,
Absolutely.
and because they felt like they knew them, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And so, in order to know someone, you need to know their character. And they display their character by how they interact with people, which is soft skills.
Yep.
So successful business, entrepreneurs, successful business owners, they put a lot of time, effort, and practice in how they are seen. Some to their success and some to their detriment. Some people work on their charisma. Some people work on their communication. The the economy or the society is filled with opportunities for people to work on how they communicate with others. Don't be harsh. 360 feedbacks, personality assessments, all of these things are to help you do certain parts and elements of the picture. We want to put it all together.
Yeah.
So that you're not just applying it to your business. You're not just applying it to, your love life, but you're applying it to every aspect of your life. Because who you are at your core, your character, it is what people will define you as, even though they can't always see it.
Yeah, and it's all about your brand. And we hear that now. You are your brand.
Your character is your brand.
Absolutely. How
You're
you
right.
show up in the world is how people see you. And so if you don't have a soft skill,
Yes.
it's going to be displayed.
Yes, yes. And you may not even be sensitive to it. So
Yeah.
if I'm a really bad communicator or if I'm a really aggressive, my aggression may come from my passion, but people may see it as this. He has poor communication skills.
Yeah.
And she can tell you. I'm a work in progress.
We all are.
But we all, and again, it's all
Sure.
about that growth. I love growing. I love learning. I've always been that way. Like I'm just like a sponge. Like I love reading books and just give me all of that, and then I'm sharing it with people because I'm not gonna keep the information. I'm not, just no. Here it is. This is the book to read, and yeah. So,
Indeed.
That's
do
Any
you
final
guys
words?
read books?
Oh yeah, we're
What is your
he's
What is your favorite book you're reading right now?
Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite book that I'm reading right now. I'm looking at a number of different things. I've recently read a few books, uh, or I'm an
Yeah, I do that. I
audiobook
do that
person.
too. One or the other. Yeah.
One of them is How to Get Paid for What You Know. That one's by Graham Cochran, I think. The other one is 10x is easier than 2x. That's by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And that is a really good book. It's the third in a series that he did with a gentleman by the name of Dan Collins?
Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan. Thank you. And so they did a book called Who Not How, The Gap in the Gain, and then the final one was 10x is easier than 2x. And it's a great series to help people understand how they can push past where they are to where they want to be. And so we've listened to those books, and there's a number of them, but of course none of them come to mind right now. But those four books
Yeah.
would be some good ones.
Have you ever read The Mountain Is You?
I have not yet.
I'm listening to that now. That is a good book. Very, very
I
good.
definitely have heard of it.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
add that to our audio book list.
Yes. Yeah. I like to listen to them too, but then I like to have the book because I like to write or highlight. And I'm really reading this book now. I can't even. Oh, actually, I have it. I will pull it out. Um, it is The Discipline of Execution.
Oh, okay.
And this is really good because you think about one of the things that they said is we're always taught, we get all excited about our business plan and creating the plan and how we're going to do things, but we lack the execution.
Indeed. We'll be reading that soon.
And but I think entrepreneurs struggle with that because it is the fun part, coming up with all the plans and the, how we're going to, execute it. We say how we're going to execute it, but to just actually do it is because there's so much that we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
And it's saying multitasking is not a good skill.
No, it's
but
not.
we've been taught that because when you multitask, nothing gets done 100%.
Agreed.
There's always something that's lacking. And one, you don't get that feeling of accomplishment because you done moved on to something else. There's times when I pick up my phone and answer a text. Then I go and look. I was in the middle of an email. I didn't even finish writing the email, like because of multitasking. So it helps you to realize that you need to have a goal. And what is that goal?
Right.
Focus on it before you move on to the next one. So,
Agreed.
well,
Agreed.
this has
Excellent
been great.
point. Thank you.
And so this has been, where's my little clicker? This has been Melissa Shaw with Our Generation with the Times. And we are here with Pi Unlimited. And I hope you guys have enjoyed and been educated, empowered, and inspired. And make sure you check them out. And you have a website, right? Did you say your website?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
PiUnlimited.com. And you can also find us on Instagram at The Gap Year Adventure.
Perfect. We are.